should be a viable relationship, but there are many barriers that are in place. So as I was listening to everyone else, I think part of the problem is those who speak for Africa have traditionally been European or white people in America and Europe. And so Black people, for whatever reason in America, have not been fully engaged in the process the way that we need to. So the reason of that is because historically, slavery has caused a lot of things to be passed down from generation to generation, which created a mistrust, or Africans and African Americans have been divided by propaganda. Now, that does not mean that it cannot change, because it will. Hence the reason I've been trying to bridge the gap with policymakers, business leaders to come and invest in the continent. So one of the things that I do is I do try to connect businesses to the continent. And what happened was I had several businesses in South Africa that reached out to me, and I thought it was going to be indigenous South Africans, only to get there and find out that it was Portuguese or it was Chinese who had been living in South Africa to put together packages and deals for them. And so that was an issue in and of itself. But we were still able to go into places like Rwanda and Tanzania and to put together rail deals, airport deals. But the disturbing part was, even in America, the largest international airport in the world, Hartsfield, was basically built by African Americans who had the contracts, but yet still people don't understand that or know that on the continent, that you can have a relationship with people who have the resources and skills in America. So we have to find a way to bridge that disconnect so that people, African Americans or Africans in the diaspora, will then go to Africa and do business and not be afraid to do business because of the propaganda that they see. Now, as it relates to COVID, Africa has had a great response to COVID. Part of the reason is they don't have as many resources as we have in the Western world. Let's just be honest. They didn't have access to as much equipment, breathing apparatuses, PPE. So they had to come together quickly to come up with a response, because if COVID was ever unleashed on the continent, it would have taken so many people out and the recovery would have been so hard to put back together. That being said, our response in America has been dismal. It has been absolutely ridiculous for us to consider ourselves to be one of the leaders of the free world. So one of the things that I've been doing is I've been trying to get PPEs sent all across the world. And one of the hangups that we have in America is our Department of Justice and our State Department and the President. They've been trying to keep us from exporting PPEs out of the United States into the rest of the world that needs them. So we really have to come up with a quick remedy to bridge that gap. And so I'm just glad to see all of us coming together here, and especially now at this time. And so technology, I'm glad Jay said that. If it were not for technology, I would not be connected with you all today, because I would be, to be honest, I would be afraid to leave America right now to go out into the rest of the world with COVID, and we don't know the answer. So technology is moving quickly, and we have to give people on the continent the skill set, not just soft skills, but all the skill sets, and to go and not try to be the savior, but to be the partner, because the resources are there in Africa.
Because, I mean, I'm very interested that you mentioned the diaspora and the role of the diaspora, because here in the UK, there are so many people of African heritage who are realizing that they need to go back to the continent. There's a friend of mine, she's of Ghanaian heritage, and she used to run trade missions from the UK into Ghana with British businesses. And she said to me, you know, I've got to live in Accra because that's where the action is. I cannot do my job from London anymore because it's so vibrant on the ground that I've got to be on the ground. I have another friend who was with the Chicago Tribune as a journalist for many years, and he's just won a Fulbright scholarship, and he's going to teach at the University of Ghana because he feels an ancestral pull back to Ghana, which he's never been to in his life before, but he feels that spiritual connection. And just wondering whether you sense that within your community, whether there is that growing link, that it's important for the diaspora to get engaged in the continent now.
It most certainly is. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to figure out how I can have dual citizenship with Ghana, because right now that's the only one that's really offering dual citizenship, where I won't have to give up my citizenship here in America. But most of the people that I'm talking to, they're trying to figure out, how do we get back? How do we become a an integral part of our native land. And so what we've been trying to do is try to set up mission trips and trade missions so that women, especially Black women, who are the largest growing sector in the United States of business owners, the largest sector in the United States of people with advanced degrees. How do we get those women connected back to the women on the continent so that we could merge, converge together and have reliable businesses? But yes, people are trying to go back. Last year we had, it was called, the return. And everyone was trying to get back to the motherland for the year of the return. And so I see it happening day by day by day. And the way things are happening now in the United States, we're trying to get back, we're trying to get out of here in large numbers as soon as we can. Because I want to piggyback on something that was said. We cannot swoop into Africa as though we are the saviors of Africa. Africa has always been established. Sometimes they just may need our help to get their resources in one place or to get them to where they need to go. But those are some of the most brightest minds on the planet. And so what we have to do is harness that and work in solidarity with the Africans, because when we go, many times we go and treat them more like indentured servants, or give them skills like, well, we want you to do agriculture, instead of saying we want you to create systems that will change the way the agriculture is seen, not just in Africa, but around the world. So we have to change our thinking when we go into Africa as well, because there's things that we can learn and vice versa. So the first thing I would say is for Africans, first of all, we have to make sure that the people that are speaking for Africa have the best interests of Africa at heart when they're speaking on behalf of those on the continent in each individual country. That's number one. And then they need to form relationships with people who can help them articulate their message across the globe. Because sometimes it's just a lack of miscommunication, or they don't know, who necessarily to talk to, or who's not coming to rob them of all of their resources or to exploit them. Because there is a lot of exploitation that happens internally and externally to Africa, and we still do not have those real conversations. We try to, skate by them, but it's a very real thing. So, and then they need to put together a great marketing package. We need to figure out a way to help them market who and what they are on the continent. There's so many resources there. There's so much that can be done. It's just a matter of marketing and branding and just making sure that people understand what the continent has to offer to the rest of the world. I am optimistic. Africa is rising. It's not the next frontier. It's always been the frontier. And with all of you all together and all of us working collectively, it will continue to rise. So the future is bright.